Hi Hunters! I've already covered Steve and Gore as two of the most farm-worthy 9-star monsters for talisman grinding. But it would be cruel to leave out the third in this lineup, the ever fan favorite, Lagiacrus. In this video, we'll go over some tips and tricks for fighting Lagi from a Gunlance perspective, and why it's such a fun monster to farm, even with the underwater segments. So, let's suit up, dive in, and go for a swim with the Lord of the Seas. Jumping into the hunt, Lagi by no means is a very difficult monster to deal with. He's not as fast as Steve or Gore, but the range on his thunderbolts can easily catch you off guard, especially if you're mid-commitment to an attack animation. That's easily the most annoying part of the fight. For this hunt, I'm running my usual Wound Breaker build, and there's actually a perk to using this build against Lagi that I'll point out a little later. I was able to land a few free hits right after the sneak attack, thanks to Doshaguma hogging Lagi's attention. I could have squeezed in a bit more damage here, but instead I decided to bait Lagi under the boulder drop for some free environmental damage. For some reason, it took Lagi a while to wander under the boulder. Looks like he decided my Palico was the bigger threat for a moment. I almost thought I missed the boulder drop there, but luckily it clipped Lagi's tail and caused a topple. Perfect chance to land a Wormstake full blast for some free damage. Always keep an eye on environmental hazards and use them whenever you can. They're basically free damage, and a topple from an environmental trap can open up even more opportunities to punish. I think I missed the perfect guard timing here and took the hit. Luckily, Lagi wasn't charged up at the time, because if I had been stunned from Thunderblight, that could have been devastating. To avoid that risk, make sure you stack Thunder resistance to at least 20 so you're immune to Thunderblight, or slot in stun resistance instead. Either of these skills can be the difference between surviving or carding in the Lagi matchup. Remember to always watch what attacks Lagi is going for, and pay attention to how many times he'll chain moves together in a single attack string. Of course, this applies to pretty much every monster, so it's more of a universal hunting tip, but it's still worth keeping in mind here. It's also pretty generous of Capcom to include Power Clash for both Steve and Lagi, which makes their hunts a little easier compared to Gore's. For this matchup, you can even consider running the Jin Dahad armor set. That sweet damage buff after a Power Clash can really pay off. Just keep in mind though that triggering a Power Clash with Lagi isn't as consistent as it is with Steve, since Lagi tends to rely more on long range attacks, making it harder to set one up reliably. That one was on me. I assumed I wouldn't get clipped by the tail, since I'm usually positioned closer to Lagi, but I miscalculated and went for the Wyvern Fire anyway. Ended up taking the tail hit as a result. Lagi is charged up now. You can tell from the electricity sparking across his back. In this state, some of his attacks will deal chip damage even through guard, especially the hip check. That move is brutal if you don't perfect guard it properly. I panicked and missed the perfect guard timing here, which is never a good thing. Thankfully, my Palico came through with a clutch heal at just the right moment, saving me from a certain cart. But remember, keep calm and land your perfect guards properly. Otherwise, even with Palico support, Lagi can still send you packing. For this charged up Thunder attack, I recommend hopping back from Lagi instead of trying to tank guard the whole thing. The chip damage is absurdly high, and it often leaves you wide open to a follow-up if you panic heal right after. You'll see me get hit here, mostly because I got greedy and went for a Wyvern Fire without waiting out the follow-up Thunder Shocks. Try not to get intimidated by Lagi's charged up rush attack. It looks scary, but with the right perfect guard timing, you'll be safe. Just don't make the same mistake I did, panic guarding and completely missing the perfect guard window. Here's a tip when fighting tempered monsters. Always target the body parts with scar wounds on them. Hitting those areas will open up the tempered wound, and if you land a focus strike on that wound, the monster will topple. Perfect time to put my Flayer Part Breaker combo to good use. That's a lot of damage from just one focus strike to the tempered wound. You can even follow it up with a Wormstake full blast combo right after. Just be careful to back off once Laggy starts getting up. Otherwise, you risk eating an attack during your recovery. I barely managed to reach the special wound in time here, and that's only because I got hit. After Laggy's charged up thunder attack, a special wound will open up if you avoid tanking the move. Targeting that wound is a great source of extra damage, and if you focus strike it, you can topple Laggy for even more control. If you've noticed by now, I'm avoiding doing damage to the wounds on Laggy's neck and shoulder. That's intentional, because I know he's about to retreat to his nest for the underwater segment. By saving those wounds for later, the underwater fight becomes much easier. Since I'm running Wound Breaker, I'll also get healing every time I destroy a wound, which helps if I take a hit underwater. Right now, my goal is to open up as many wounds as possible before Laggy dives. That way, once we're underwater, I can target them directly for extra damage with Part Breaker, making that phase much quicker to get through. I'm still trying to open up more wounds here, but unfortunately, I completely misjudged my attacks and missed pretty spectacularly. Oh well, I'll just take whatever wounds I can get on Laggy for the underwater fight. I believe the main goal of the underwater fight is to open up as many wounds as you can. You can do this by shooting the slinger pods scattered around underwater, or by grabbing onto Laggy and attacking with your combat knife or weapon. Once a wound opens up, latch onto that part and use Focus Strike for solid damage. After you've dealt enough damage this way, the underwater phase will end and Laggy will return to land. Remember, there are 2 boulder drops on opposite ends of the arena that you can use against Laggy. Dropping one on him creates a perfect window to grab on and deal damage with your combat knife, giving you a chance to open up a wound. Just be careful. You can't stay latched onto Laggy forever. Make sure to finish with a weapon attack and get off quickly, or you risk getting caught by his thunder attack once he recovers. I go ahead and break all the wounds I left earlier before coming underwater, which deals a huge chunk of damage to Laggy while also healing me whenever I take a hit. This is one of the big perks of running a Wound Breaker build in this fight. Some of Laggy's attacks will also create special wounds you can exploit for extra damage, like the Twin Thunder Breath he just used. There's another move that can trigger a special wound as well, but that one shows up much more rarely. And with that, I'm basically done with the underwater phase. It went by pretty quick, just about a minute and a half, and I even skipped the second boulder drop. Let me know down in the comments, do you think breaking wounds is the key to getting through the underwater fight faster? Or maybe it's not just about breaking wounds. Maybe dealing continuous damage with slinger pods, weapon grabs, and using the environment is just as effective for getting through the underwater phase faster. What do you think? For the rest of the fight, it's basically rinse and repeat from the land phase. Just stay mindful of which attacks Laggy is using, how many times he chains them together in a string, and time your perfect guards accordingly. Once you've gotten used to his attack patterns, all of this becomes second nature. And that's it for the hunt. What do you think of the Laggy fight? Do you prefer farming Laggy over Steve or Gore, or do you tend to avoid him because of the dreaded underwater phase? Let me know down in the comments, and as always, don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and share it with your squad. Until next time, I'm Marneus, and I'll see you in the hunt.